Today's video is sponsored by Squarespace. So typically when you get on YouTube and you look up photography videos, you see a lot of talk about camera gear, you see a lot of talk about travel, locations, shoot philosophy, behind the scenes, editing, but there are some special intangibles of photography that are often ignored that I want to go over with y'all today. YouTube, what is good? Welcome to the new video setup. So this is definitely temporary. Your boy is still figuring out a lot about how I want to do this. The microphone is currently on a trash can right now. I'm all hunched over because it's too low, but don't worry, we are going to get this sorted out in time. Today I just wanted to rip this thing off like a band-aid, get back to posting YouTube videos and creating stuff for y'all, and we'll just figure it out along the way, so bear with me. But today we are talking about 4 secret skills that photographers have that are often ignored, and a lot of people don't talk about this because, let's be real, it's way more fun and way easier to travel, it's way more fun and way easier to go buy a new camera than it is to actually sit down and think and develop real skills of photography. If you can master and figure out everything I'm talking about in today's video, you are going to hold the secret sauce to making good photos and potentially growing your photo business as well. The way I look at it is, if photography is a product, you want to be able to create as high quality of a product as quickly as possible, because it's going to allow you to get paid more often for the skill that you have. Today's video is based on my own experience that I've learned over the last 5 years, in a mix of stuff I've learned doing the photography more on the art side for YouTube and photography more on the business side for clients and commercial stuff and things like that. So what are these 4 major skills that all photographers need to have that nobody really talks about? They're often ignored. One is making people look good, okay? This is a skill in itself. Pause, hit the thumbs up button on today's video right now. I got to remind y'all to do this because when you do it, the video does way better. So hit the thumbs up button, do me a solid. But back to what we're talking about, making people look good is a skill in itself. Now, what people don't understand is that making people look good is actually about taking the essence of the person and capturing it in a photograph. It all comes down to you, your rapport with the person you're making photos of, making them feel comfortable, giving them the right type of coaching as well. So I want to break this down into 2 major categories to keep this thing simple. The first is making selections, okay? Now, one skill you need to have as a photographer is being able to look at a batch of photos. Let's say you go out and do a shoot, you have 30, 40 photos that you need to go through. You need to be able to look at these photos and determine which photos are good and which ones are bad. You would be surprised at how many models I've worked with over the years who are incredible looking, great, beautiful looking people who are great at their job, but they've told me that one reason they don't trust a lot of photographers and one reason they like working with me is because they know I'm not going to put bad photos of them out on the internet. This especially happens a lot with beautiful women or celebrity males. What happens is someone is so excited to have this photo of either a beautiful woman or Travis Scott or some like famous rapper or something like that they put out a photo where the person actually looks bad. They don't look good. And this hurts you as a photographer because, one, it hurts your reputation just in the industry or whatever you're doing. You know, that model is going to say, hey, that guy that you're about to work with, he put out a terrible photo of me online. Don't work with him. But it also just shows that you can't identify when someone looks good and when someone looks bad. So that is the first thing you need to understand, is when you have a batch of photos, when you have your selects, think to yourself, one, does this person look good? Like, do they look the way that they actually look in person? Am I capturing their actual essence, their beauty, whatever? But secondly, you need to think, if the facial expression or the thing they're doing with their face or the way they're standing, is it flattering? If I was this person, would I like the way I looked? And this is a skill you can develop over time. You can look at magazines, you can look at other commercial shoots and get an idea of what looks good and what looks bad if you really don't understand this. The second thing we got to talk about is actually how you manage a photo shoot with a person. One, the most important is make them comfortable. Develop a rapport with the person you're making photos of. Typically, anytime I work with a new model or we're doing like a lifestyle shoot or something like that, the first thing I do is just have a conversation with the person. Typically, we might have like a 10, 15-minute conversation. I figure out what they're about. We talk about our experiences. You know, I tell them what I do as a photographer. They tell me what they do as a model. Maybe we talk music. We just find some common interest. You're just trying to understand this person more. Be social, because your job as a photographer is to capture this person. So build a little bit of rapport. I'm not saying you have to become best friends with this person on the spot. I'm just saying get to know them a little bit so everyone is a little bit more comfortable and make the shoot run smoother. That is the first thing. The second thing is establish things that this person might dislike about themselves. Everybody has certain insecurities. Maybe mention to them, hey, do you have a side? Do you like to pose a certain way? Is there something I should know about the way you like to stand? Is there anything that I should know? This, once again, is going to develop trust and rapport with the person you're making photos of and help you get photos that actually look good of this person. The last thing that you can do is when these people are posing, tell them to act natural. Say, hey, stand how you would normally stand. What's your go-to pose? What are you doing here? And then coach accordingly from that. So maybe they're standing with their hand in a weird spot. Say, hey, move your hand a little bit up this way. Or, hey, can you put your hand over here? Or, hey, can you move your shoulder back a little bit this way? That's what I typically do with models, and I feel like the photos come out much more natural as opposed to this approach a lot of people take where they feel that they have to micromanage every single piece of the person and say, okay, you're like this right here, hold it, chin up. That's old school. It works for certain things. Maybe if you're doing like portraits of, a family or something and you're really trying to establish this set feeling. But in my opinion, I've found that for the most part, you want to capture someone's natural essence and just coach a little bit just to make the photo better. You just want to make small tweaks. You don't want to micromanage because at the end of the day, if you're photographing someone and they don't feel like they look like themselves, you're not doing your job. You're not capturing this person in the way that you need to, and you're not maintaining this skill of making people look good. What's good, y'all? So sorry to interrupt the video, but I quickly want to thank our sponsor today, Squarespace. Now, a quick story about myself and Squarespace. When I first started this YouTube channel, I had this website that was an absolute nightmare to use. I had to constantly hit up a web developer. They were always coding stuff. I had no idea how to update it myself. It never looked right. I hated it. So one day I finally took matters into my own hands and I built a website on Squarespace using their trial platform. Now, fast forward a few years later, Squarespace became a sponsor on this channel, and I'm so glad they are because they provide me value every single day with my website, evanramp.com, and my website, 1826.com. Now, what's cool about Squarespace is when I first built that site, all I did was dedicate an afternoon of work to it. It took me one day to build the site. I used one of their templates. It's all drag and drop. Basically, if you know how to find files on your computer, you can populate this template. And ever since then, I've been able to sell things through this website. One of those things being my latest photo book, Stops Along the Way. I've also been able to have clients contact me and get in touch with me through the site. Also, customers can contact me through the site. At the end of the day, it's a huge part of my business and life as an artist and a photographer. And luckily for y'all, if you want to build a website exactly like mine, I have a video on this channel where I break it down. I'll link that in the description on today's video. So what you can do is you can go to squarespace.com/evanramp. You can start a free trial, and then you can go to that video link down below. You can follow along with it. And when you're ready to sign up for your site, you can use code evanramp to get 10% off your first purchase. I'll go ahead and link some other videos down there as well that are good materials for you. Say if you want to build like a print store or something like that, there's a few other resources that you can take advantage of. So that's squarespace.com/evanramp to start a free trial. And when you're ready to sign up, you can use code evanramp to get 10% off. Big thank you to Squarespace for sponsoring today's video, and they're my favorite type of sponsor on this channel because they're actually a part of my life. Back to the video. So that is the first thing. The second skill that photographers have is composition. Now, this is one of the most basic skills of photography. It's one of the most basic skills of art. Shout out to Miss Van. When I was in, I think, 4th grade, we did these still life things in art class, and she taught me about composition then. And ever since, I've kind of had a little bit of an eye for it. I'm not going to lie, composition does come easier for me. It's something that has been really beneficial to my photography. And also, it's important to note that composition is kind of the core of what people call the photography eye or the picture mindset. If you can understand composition and start having it become second nature, you're going to have the key to better photos quickly, like I mentioned in the introduction. So the first thing you can do is study the greats, okay? You can study art theory and you can study other photographers and you can start to look at how do they frame their photos. If you go on Google right now, we have more access to information than ever. You can look up composition. I also have videos about it on this channel where you can break down, okay, why does this picture look good? Why does this picture look bad? What is happening in this photo? What are lead lines? What are triangles? What are rules of thirds? What are rules of 3 in photos? What are all these different things that I can pay attention attention to and start thinking about as I'm creating images. And what you can do is once you start studying these compositions and you get some ideas and inspirations in your head, when you go out to make photos, just make a million pictures. Try as many different compositions as you can think of. So maybe you try this angle, you try this angle, you try this angle, and you probably overshoot the situation. But when you get home and you have the photos in your computer, now you can cross-reference these photos with the inspiration photos. And what this is going to do is it's basically going to teach you composition through your own application. What this does is it cements in your head how you captured that composition. So now when you go out to make another photo, your mind is automatically programmed to think, oh, hey, remember that last image I made? I looked for this, I did this, this, and this. So now you're going to get the composition you want faster the second time around. See what I'm doing here? I'm essentially teaching you how to create a pattern in your thinking so that you can make compositions more naturally. Now, what's tough about explaining something like composition is it isn't intangible. It's not like me with running where I can set a goal for myself and say, hey, I'm going to go out and try to run this mile time. Composition is something that you have to learn over time. But by doing research on the back end and comparing it to your current images, you can speed up that process a lot and have composition become something that's more second nature to you. And the third thing we got to talk about today is color. And color is another skill that can be cultivated the exact same way as composition. You can do the same process. You can get online, you can look up different color palettes, you can look up different editing styles, you can look up different ways colors interact with each other, and you can take those ideas out into the field with you. Maybe you're doing portraits, you can try to do different monochromatic ideas, you can try to do different color theory ideas where complementary colors or colors that are next to each other on the color wheel, literally whatever you want. But when you learn basic color theory, you can start thinking about these things when you're actually out on shoots and move much quicker. This is a skill in itself, and just like composition, it's something that is cultivated over time. It's something that you basically go try, then you figure out where you went right, where you went wrong, repeat the process over and over until it becomes second nature. So color is another skill that the greats really pay attention to. I mean, there's some amazing photographers now who their color is just off the charts, and I look at them and think, how do they even do that? One of them being my buddy Garrett, Short Stash on Instagram. You can check him out. His colors are always on point, and this is a skill that he's cultivated over time to now where it's essentially second nature for him to go out and make photos that are going to allow him to get the colors he's looking for in his images. Now, the fourth and final thing is something that all artists should be conscious of, and it's a skill that great artists have, and it's the ability to make people feel something. The ability to take feelings, use them as inspiration for creativity. This is a skill that can be cultivated in a lot of ways. And I'm telling you, if you can figure it out, if you can understand how to create a feeling with whatever it is that you're making, you're going to be ahead of like 90% of artists out there, because most people make things that just, they don't feel like anything. It's just like another thing on the Instagram feed. It's just another video on YouTube. So if you can do this, if you can capture real emotion, you are going to stand out, because emotion is a human thing. We're all constantly striving to feel something, to feel life's realness. Now, how can you do this? There's a couple different things you can do. One is you can actually live your life in a way that allows you to showcase these feelings. You know, let's say you want to create nostalgic type photography at the beach. I don't know. Easiest way to do that is going to be to go to the beach and live that type of life. You know, if you're someone who wants to create sad images, being sad is going to be the easiest way for you to create sad art. Now, let's be real, not everyone wants to go through their life sad, not everyone can go live at the beach, but there are still ways to cultivate these feelings and use them as inspiration, even if they're not in the forefront of your life, like in those last two examples. You know, maybe it's a rainy day and you start thinking back to how you felt years ago, and you take those emotions and apply them when you're out creating or when you're out editing. That's one way you can do it. Or maybe you watch a movie that has the certain feeling or the certain vibe that you're going for with your images before you create them, before you edit them. Or maybe you do something like I like to do and just listen to the type of music that has the feeling you want as you're creating your work. So maybe you throw in some headphones when you're out hiking, some upbeat, happy stuff because you want to create upbeat, happy photos. Maybe when you're working with a model, you guys throw on some music that's more high energy because that's what you're going for. Or maybe you turn on something that's more low energy. And that's what's so beautiful about art in general, and that's what's so beautiful about creativity, is it's like a gateway to feeling something. That's why art will never go anywhere. And that's why you should never listen to anybody who says that there's not going to be a place for artists years down the line. Trust me, there always will be, because art does something special that Some people just will never understand, but if you get it and you can make people feel it, you're gonna be in a good spot. So that is everything today. All the things on today's list are things that have really helped me as a photographer and helped me grow as I stay conscious of them and apply them to my creative journey. Hope you can do the same. Drop some comments below. I'll answer them for the next 2 hours. Y'all are the truth. See you next time.